Okay, we're live on YouTube.
I'm prepared to share this. I'm assuming that's still okay with everyone here. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Terry's like, go ahead. All right, so welcome everyone. First thing on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda for the Planning Advisory Committee tonight. Everyone okay with that? First, do we need a first and seconder, I suppose? Bill and Frank, that's good. All in favor? Accepting of the minutes of the previous meeting, January 19th, 2022. First and seconder. Al, Terry. And disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Anybody have anything to declare or disclose? Seeing none. All right. We are on to do we move on to the first file here? I think C 2021-10. Is that what we're on first? It says ratepayers and delegations.
Yes. We don't have any delegations tonight, so we can move straight into the public meeting. We'll just give a brief overview. If you'd like me to go ahead and do that, Eric, I can.
I've got it up here if you want me to read it. Do you want me to read the statement you sent me? Okay.
Go ahead, yeah.
So this is a public meeting to hear comments and questions from any members of the public regarding the planning applications as outlined in the agenda. As required under the Ontario Planning Act, this is a statutory public meeting being held by the Planning Advisory Committee prior to making recommendations to Council for approval or refusal of the proposed application. The Planning Advisory Committee reviews all comments and submissions received prior to this evening's meeting, as well as those comments received during the course of tonight's meeting. No decisions have been made on any application before the committee tonight, and all presented information will be taken into consideration if and when a final recommendation is made. The Planning Advisory Committee is made up of 5 citizen appointees from the municipality, along with 2 members of council. And in typical fashion, we typically introduce ourselves. So my name is Erica. We'll go through Terry. You're next on my screen.
Terry Kelly, Councillor. Welcome, everyone.
Al Harif.
Bill Bulk, welcome.
Frank Corbeil.
Thank you. We've got Carrie and Greg too.
Thanks, Greg Curtin, planner with municipality.
And I'm Carrie Hanselman. I'm the recording clerk.
Thank you. If any person in attendance would like to be notified of future decisions or correspondence with regards to an item on tonight's agenda, please record your name and contact information on the sheet. That's not the sheet. Guess they will email you. Email Greg at the office. The format will be that we follow this evening as follows. We will call up the applicant and the agent to outline their request. Committee members may ask questions. Staff will provide an overview of any comments received on the application. The committee will hear from members of the public that wish to make a submission. The applicant/agent may provide follow-up information and answer questions. The committee members will put forward a recommendation. We'd ask that all comments please be respectful and related directly to the planning matters relevant to the application. And if any committee member have a conflict of interest with regards to any items on tonight's agenda, we ask to declare it. We will now proceed to the public meeting, starting with the first item on the agenda, which is C-2021-10, Miller and Ursa Surveying on behalf of Parent Properties, Inc., Daniel and Linda Mercier, 1163 and 1177 Village Road.
Okay, great. We have Rick Miller in the waiting room, so I will admit him to start the presentation.
Hi, Rick. We see you there. I'm chairing tonight, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Which one are we doing first?
Yeah, okay. The Miller and Ursa Surveying on behalf of Parent and Properties, Inc., Daniel and Linda Mercier, 1163 and 1177 Village Road.
Oh, okay. So this is a property on Village Road. There's 2 properties side by side that we are doing lot additions for. And it's the old Wheeler's Restaurant property and then the residential property beside it on Village Road. The properties are very odd shapes. And the purpose of the lot additions is to separate pieces and square off the properties so they can be better. The Wheeler's Restaurant property on the corner, Perron's, can be better redeveloped. Because of the odd shape of it, it'd be very difficult to meet setbacks and so on. And it squares off the property for the adjoining residential property. We also have concurrent rezonings for both pieces because the property on the corner is zoned commercial and the other one is a rural village residential. So we're also rezoning the pieces so that they will match the zoning of the pieces they're being added to. So those are my comments. Happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Open to questions to the group. Anybody have any questions?
Rick, we're not rezoning all of the two properties, just the portions that are being swapped. Is that correct?
That's correct, because if you swap them, then you'd have mixed zonings on that piece. And it's particularly important for the commercial piece on the corner that the lot addition be zoned commercial.
Any other questions from anyone else? I don't see any questions. Are we good to first and seconded, Greg, or do you have any comments before we go forward with that?
Sure, I'll make a couple of comments. Thanks, Erica. Usually I'll go over the correspondence we've received and the staff report. So we only received one piece of correspondence on this file from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. They indicated that this property did not have a record for a septic installation previously, but they have no concerns with the ability for the commercial piece in the corner to have one in the future. And they didn't comment on the residential portion because there's a house existing there now and there's no major changes proposed to it. I just wanted to clarify for the committee's information, these applications are best understood when talked about together. So the lot additions that Mr. Miller described, as well as the rezoning, it all works together in tandem. But at this committee right now, since we do deal with rezonings and severance applications at two different committees, we're dealing with the recommendation on the zoning bylaw amendment application right now. And then at 7 p.m., the Committee of Adjustment will deal with the consent to sever applications. But Mr. Miller was exactly right when he explained it. Basically, it's a small land swap to square off the pieces of each property. And then the rezoning would just make sure that the zoning boundaries followed the new lot boundaries that were as a result of the land swap. The majority of the property on the corner that the former Wheeler's site occupied is already zoned commercial. So we would just be adding a small portion of commercial zoning that would be the area that is swapped. So there's no concern from a staff perspective that this is a good location for a commercial business, and the zoning is consistent with the official plan designation, which is in the village, and we received no other comments or correspondence.
Thanks, Greg. Any other questions before we move forward?
Would this be, is the way to approve this subject to the successful application being approved at the next meeting? Or does it really matter?
It doesn't really matter. It's not a requirement that the severance go through for the zoning to change. If the zoning went through and the severance didn't, it wouldn't really change anything from a usability perspective, because the areas where the zoning didn't quite line up would be so small that they wouldn't be able to actually be used for those purposes anyways. It would be a little bit, strange as far as like appearance, but functionally, I don't think there's any real issue with it. The other thing that I could say is that we'll know the outcome of this before council actually makes a decision on this application anyways, because we're making a recommendation at this committee to council. So at the next meeting, the Committee of Adjustment will be able to make a final decision on the land severance before this recommendation goes to council anyways. So we could rectify the problem there if we needed to.
Okay.
You good to move forward? All right, any first and secondaries, movers? Frank and Al? All in favor? I think we're good. Thank you. All right, so now we move on to the next one, C 2022-01, Degagne and Lefebvre Building Group on behalf of Steve Burnett, vacant land on Highway 94.
Okay, thanks. I'll let Francis Lefebvre in. Just before we do that, I just wanted to let Rick know that we'll be back for Committee of Adjustment at 7 p.m. And that's where the severance applications for this file will be heard, along with your other applications. So I'm going to put you back to the waiting room for right now, but if you could follow along on the YouTube at 7 p.m., we'll be back for Committee of Adjustment.
Okay.
Hi there.
Hi.
Looks like you made it in. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight.
Absolutely. So we have you here for C 2022-01, vacant land, Highway 94. The floor is yours. Would you like to explain a little bit more about your application?
Yes, sure. So my client would like his property rezoned rather from rural to light industrial. It's basically just to consolidate all his his machinery. So he owns a commercial company and he's just looking to bring all his machinery home under his roof rather than paying rent. So it's not like there'll be a lot of back and forth. It's just storing of his machinery is in his own shop. Instead of, you know, paying out to everybody else, he'd be building something for himself. And eventually their plans are to build a house on the property as well. So he's just looking to consolidate everything under in one property.
Greg, did you want to fill in from here or did you want to ask questions next, the group?
Normally we would do questions from the committee to the applicant first, and then I'll add the correspondence afterwards.
You'd think I'd know this by now, but anybody
Oh
have
no,
any
it's okay.
questions?
It's not easy to keep it straight when you're not chairing all the time, it's for sure.
Any questions at all for the applicant tonight from the members?
Nothing from me.
I don't see any here. Greg, I think it's all yours.
Sure, thanks. So with this file, this is vacant land on Highway 94, as the applicant indicated. So we only received one piece of correspondence on this file as well, also from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. They indicated that a DIA permit would be required if any development extends within 30 meters of the stream that runs across the front portion of the property. Otherwise, they indicated no concern for septic installation if plumbing and sewage is required in the future. And with regards to my report, this is a suitable location for a warehouse type use as described. These type of things generally fit well on the major highways. If you do have like larger pieces of equipment or, you know, coming in and out on a regular basis, they're coming out onto a roadway that's designed for that type of traffic. So it's a relatively straightforward application in my eyes from a planning policy perspective and a land use compatibility perspective. So I have no other comments to add.
There's no problem in this location with the driveway access. It looks fairly
No.
straight.
Very, very straight and very flat along this whole section of Highway 94.
Any other questions from the committee? Are we okay to put it on the floor, first and seconder?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, Councilor Kelly and Bill. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Francis.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Francis. So the recommendation from this committee will go to council at the next meeting. So that'll be on February 22nd, and they'll make a final decision on the application, and you'll receive a copy of the decision one way or another.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
You too.
Next on the agenda, I have a correspondence for meeting date change request, May 18th, 2022 to May 11th, 2022.
So that's actually coming from me. I was hoping that we could change the date for the May meeting to be one Wednesday earlier to accommodate something in my own schedule. So I just thought I'd bring that to the committee to see if there were any issues with making that date change.
No issues with me.
Okay.
What was the date again, Greg?
The May 18th meeting, I believe it was the 18th. Yeah, May 18th would be the third Wednesday, and I'm looking for us to move it to May 11th, the week before, if possible.
No issues here.
Okay, great. It's still a few months away, but I thought I would bring it to committee sooner rather than later.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other new business? No in camera. All right, so we're okay to adjourn here at 6. I have 6:47. Mover and seconder for that. Are we okay? Okay, Frank and Al, all in favor? I think we're back here at 7 o'clock for the next committee of adjustment meeting. So I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing, Mr. Frank?
Not too bad, I guess, for an old man.
You're a teenager. Come on. That's a different week. There's no carnival.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, isn't the Benum still happening in North Bay?
The carnival's still on in North Bay, from what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's with restrictions, but yeah, it's still on. There's Benum and yep.
Yeah. The one in Astorville is not though, right?
No, but there's going to be the ice sculptures.
Right.
But no, nothing like normal. That's for sure. But
Next
we're going from a dead stop now provincially to everything wide open. It's
Yeah, and that's happening tomorrow, right?
Partially tomorrow, the 17th, and then a big change coming March the 1st. Yep. So like we've reopened the gym a couple of weeks ago, but with restrictions, restricted hours and restricted attendance. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the sooner we get back to normal safely, I think the better off we'll all be, mentally and physically. You know.
Yeah, especially mentally.
I took a couple of seminars. We were at a convention a few weeks ago, and they're saying the fourth wave, it's the mental stress has been incredible because of the duration.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's tough.
I sit on a board in North Bay mental health, and it's really increased the mental part of it.
I had to go for a checkup, and even in the hospital now, there's signs up that intolerant behavior will not be tolerated. Any aggressive behavior or whatever is unacceptable. And you never saw that before in a hospital, to my knowledge.
Well, it's been in my doctor's office for a long time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I automatically assume people would be respectful because that's kind of the country way.
Well, it was even prior to COVID.
Okay. Wow. Of course, you're dealing with the public, so
Yeah.
it just takes a small minority to mess things up.
Well, don't I know that?
Yeah.
Dealt with the public for years.
Yeah.
In my profession.
I worked in retail when I was going to school part-time, and it can be an eye-opener. I think everyone should spend some time on both sides of the table.
Yep.
You know. How's your road, Frank?
It was slippery when I come home at 4 o'clock, but
Yeah.
the sander has since been through.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's,
So
I'm not looking forward to tomorrow morning because it's supposed to be a mix overnight, eh?
yeah.
And some people just don't slow down. I don't know.
Yeah. As long as my wife makes it into town, I'm okay.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, as long as you're safe, that's for sure.
Maybe before we start the next meeting, I'll just take a quick second to let everyone know, if you haven't seen it yet, there's a poster circulating that we put out. We're hosting an event on March 3rd with Dr. Charles Trick. He's a researcher from the University of Toronto. He specializes in blue-green algae and lake health. So we're doing an event at the East Ferris Community Center for 2 hours. It's like a question and answer session. I know there's been a lot of interest in Lake Nosbinson and blue-green algae in particular. So he's very, very knowledgeable on the subject, and I would definitely encourage everyone to attend. I know a lot of you have, a lot of you live on the lake, on Lake Nosbinson, and a lot of you have, connections to it and use it frequently. So it should be a really good event. We're hosting it in conjunction with the Conservation Authority, and I'm hoping for a good turnout on the 3rd.
Is that going to get posted on the municipal website?
Yes, we posted on our website, and I can email you all the sign up for after this if you want as well.
Sure.
We're just starting to get the word out there. We'll be posting it on our different channels, on a regular basis leading up to the event. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good one.
That's for anybody in the community?
Yep, anybody in the community, and we'll also allow anyone from surrounding communities to come as well. But if we do get to capacity numbers, then we'll give preference to East Ferris residents. But if anyone from other communities wants to attend, they're also welcome to.
Thanks, Greg.
Mhm.
All right, so Greg, can you just remind me, do I read the statement right now? Or do I open the meeting and then read the statement?
Usually John reads it right at the start of the public presentation part. So
Okay,
when we get to
that's
the
what I was thinking.
application section, yeah.
Okay. All right, welcome. Committee of Adjustment meeting, Wednesday, February 16th, 7 o'clock. Ready to start, everyone? So the adoption of the agenda, looking for a mover and a seconder, Frank and Al. Everyone in favor? Thank you. Accepting of the minutes of the previous meeting, January 19th, 2022. Mover Bill and Terry, thank you. Everyone okay? All in favor? Perfect. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or in general nature thereof. Anybody have anything they'd like to say declare, but that's what you know what I mean? Disclose, if you will. We're good? All right, I'm seeing none. Ratepayers delegations. Business arising from the last meeting. All right, and so before we go, I will now read the statement, I think. Feels like the right time. So welcome everyone. This is a public meeting to hear comments and questions from any members of the public regarding the planning applications as outlined in the agenda. No, Committee of Adjustment, wrong one. There we go. Committee of Adjustment meeting, sorry. The Council of the Municipality of East Ferris empower this committee to make decisions on minor variants and consent to several applications on their behalf. The committee is made up of 5 citizen members and 2 members of council. The members are as follows. And so also my name is Erica. Oh, Bill, you can start it off.
Hello, I'm Bill Boak.
Al
Frank
Harris,
Frank Corbeil.
Terry Kelly,
And Greg Curtin, planner with the municipality.
I'm Carrie Hanselman, recording clerk.
Thanks, everyone. As required under the Planning Act and pursuant to the policy, the committee is holding a public meeting prior to making a decision on the proposed applications. The Committee of Adjustment has not yet made any decisions on these matters, and all comments received prior to this evening's meeting, as well as comments received tonight during the meeting, will be considered in the decision. The committee makes our decisions based on the criteria outlined in the Planning Act that corresponds to the specific application type. The process will be as follows. I will ask the applicant to present their application in the order listed on the agenda. The committee will ask any questions they have of the applicant. Staff will provide their comments about the application and give an overview of the correspondence that has been received. Members of the public will present and answer questions if needed. We will allow for a 10-minute maximum time limit on all public comments to the committee. We will then move to a motion to approve or refuse the application. We'd ask that everybody be respectful in their presentations, and comments should be related directly to the application. If any committee members have a conflict of interest with regards to the items on tonight's agenda, please declare it. And one last note, anybody making any presentations, to mute your Zoom, mute the feed on your computer. If you're listening to it on YouTube, I would probably add to that as well. We'll move to the first item on the agenda. All right, so we have B 2021-30 to B 21-33, Miller and Urso surveying on behalf of Raymond and Karen Sabarin, 59 Guillemette Road. And Mr. Miller is in. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. This application at 59 Guillemette Road is an application that was brought forward to the committee last summer. The committee at that time deferred any decision and requested study material, which we have presented. We presented a preliminary hydrogeological assessment, the property dealing with wells and septic, and we prepared and presented a scoped natural heritage assessment of the property, dealing with environmental issues, species at risk, and so on. We also provided staff with sightlines information for the municipal engineer to review. In the course of this time, the original application was for 4 severed lots. We have now reduced that to 3 and eliminated the 4th one, the most northerly one. All of the reports that we have prepared and presented to staff support the severance of these 3 new lots. There's no factors that would affect the development on any of them. And we believe that the severance of these 3 lots is good planning and is consistent with development in the area. Those are my questions. My comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Anybody? Got some feedback there, but anybody have any questions for Mr. Miller?
Greg, has Antoine reviewed the site report and commented on it?
You would have to ask Greg that.
That's what I am. I'm asking Greg.
Oh, sorry.
So Antoine went through this review before the last meeting. So the sightline information was submitted for the 4 lots prior to the first committee of adjustment meeting we had on these files. So the sightline information for the remaining 3 lots remains the same as that. It's just 1 lot has been removed. So there hasn't been a resubmission there. So he did review them at that time, and they do meet the requirements for driveway entrances. So the locations of the remaining 3 lots have not changed from the first set of submissions.
Okay.
I have a question. Mr. Miller, I don't know if you had a chance, like I've spoken to with some people on the road, but in your surveying and your, especially of the hydro G, did you get a chance to chat with any of the neighbors about their water issues?
Yes, actually, I chatted with a neighbor immediately abutting it to the south, and they said they had no issue with water at all. The report we prepared, we analyzed all wells within a 1 kilometer radius of the property. And all of the wells drilled under present requirements and that, which is since 1990, except for 1 well, meet all the requirements, provincial requirements for quantity and quality. There's no reason to doubt that there's sufficient water supply.
Thank you. Frank?
Yeah, if memory serves me right, the only reason we deferred this application the first time was in order for Mr. Miller to get a hydro G report done for us. Am I right in saying that? Greg?
I think that's a question that's better answered by your fellow committee members because the deferral and the request for studies came through the committee. So I don't think that's necessarily a question for me.
Okay.
I'm sure you're correct stating that, Frank.
Okay.
We were waiting on hydro G.
And
Sorry.
Go ahead, Terry.
I agree with Bill. That's my recollection as well. In fact, we all agreed that a hydro study was necessary because it seemed to be a little controversial when there was comments about the existing wells in the area. And that's why I was quite delighted that they agreed to the study, and I looked at the results, and it's satisfactory in my opinion. But that's the reason for the deferral, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I agree with Bill.
There was also a concern too, I feel like, I can't remember if it was on the council level or this level, but increased like traffic of dump trucks and trucks going down the road, just generally traffic on the road. I remember that being a concern. Do you remember that? Anybody else?
I do believe that came up with the concern as well.
Yeah.
For sure. However, based on the sight lines that's been provided by Miller Urso, it looks like the sight lines are more than adequate.
The report from Antoine also approved it as well as far as handling the traffic.
Correct.
I think that's what I heard.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? See any right now. Greg, can you provide more context and any correspondence you might want to chat about?
Sure, thank you. We do have a few pieces of correspondence. So they mostly came in today. So you would have received some of them as they came in. But I know that there may not have been a chance to review. So I've indicated to the people who submitted them that I'll read them into the record tonight. So the first item that we had is a petition that was submitted. It was submitted with 66 signatures. The caption in the petition says that a request for 3 additional lots on Gilmet Road, Corbeil, have been received by the township. These lots, if approved, would be severed off of 59 Gilmet Road and would create 3 lots for residential purposes. There are issues with this. Issue number 1, placement of the lots. The lots would be situated on a blind corner and a blind hill. This is dangerous for walkers and traffic. This is also dangerous for people pulling out of their driveways on a blind hill and corner with snowbanks in the winter and icy conditions. This is a safety issue. Number 2, potential water issues for neighbors. More wells that are drilled in the area has the potential for water or lack of water for surrounding residents. The area cannot handle more homes in the area. Fracking is not the answer. It only makes a temporary fix and not the solution. 3, wildlife and the destruction to their home is a concern. This area is known for deer crossing. More and more homes being built will contribute to the loss of wildlife, which is a reason some families choose to live in the country. Lack of room to move and grow for animals because more and more houses are being built. Do not sever 59 Gilmet Road and create another 3 lots that can destroy water usage for neighbors, traffic safety, and the wildlife. And that submission was submitted on change.org. The next piece of correspondence we received was from Sonia Levine, a resident on Gilmet Road. And her comments are, good evening, committee members. Thank you for taking tonight to read this aloud in the absence of my presence. I find online virtual meetings hard as there is no engagement opportunity and the opportunity to read the room and participate outside if the allocated window. I am writing today in regards to the severances on Gilmet Road, which we are discussing, and wanted to bring a few points to the forefront. I understand that this severance checks the boxes as it has been out, meaning there is a green light. I feel like the people on the road, on this road and roads off of it, should be the ones benefiting from severing a lot or 2 from their properties, such as the Sabrins are doing. But I feel like this is like the lure wasn't enough consideration given to other residents. With the current amount of lots created, it leaves the road with serious safety concerns for overpopulation and traffic increases. As you know, it has been at the forefront of everything since the original severance applications in 2018 and in 2022. We still do not feel heard. More cars on the road have increased cars being ditched, increased traffic, making this quiet country road now feel like Corbeil Road and making it not very user-friendly with nowhere to go. You've had a council member and road committee member agree and confirm that Gilmet Road was not built to support the amount of traffic it has been seen, yet we are still adding more houses. The same goes for water. It was acknowledged that there is a known water issue, and yet we're still adding more houses. Why are we going to add more houses when we know there are road and water issues? It's unfortunate that people who should have been able to easily sever a lot here and there are facing challenges and are left behind in the planning process because the road feels maxed out. What could have been 5+ families severing a lot or two over the years comfortably turned into a mass amount of builds and has led to the road being questionably safe going forward. I ask that if you approve this, you consider one driveway for all 3 lots. I know that this isn't common practice, but there is a recent build of 2 homes sharing one driveway on Corbeil Road and 3 homes sharing one driveway on Highway 17 between both Centennial Crescent entrances. You're aware of the safety concerns brought forward, such as traffic, the hill, blind corners, and the sun cresting blind spots at certain times of the hill. So please consider the safety of these driveways if you approve. I think before more homes are added, some work needs to be done for the road to support all of the influx. And I ask that you defer this request until the road is brought up to speed and safety concerns can be addressed. Thank you for your time. And that was from Sonia Levine from Gilmet Road. And we have one more piece of correspondence. This is from Lorna Argu of 15 Roy Road. She says, attention Committee of Adjustment members, please consider the following as my formal comments to be submitted for consideration by the Committee of Adjustment regarding the above noted file. I ask that you ensure my concerns are addressed on this date and the request notification of the decision in respect to this application. I am a resident of Roy Road and my concerns address the proposed 3 lots with entrances from Gilmet Road. This section of road following south commences with a crest of a hill proceeding down on a curve into a gully in the middle, and then a sharp curve proceeding up the second hill. Roy Road exits to the right, almost at the bottom of the first hill. There are currently a number of other exits to the right at this section of road. I use the Roy Road exit on a daily basis and I'm well aware of the hazards that already exist for this exit. Cars using this exit are jeopardized by winter conditions. Snowplows must ensure the snowbanks provide a clear sight from both the left and the right and must be pushed back significantly. In severe snow conditions, this can cause high snowbanks and would hinder a clear line of sight. This is not the usual case this winter. Snow has been light, but in the past years, the banks have been very high. Any hindrance exiting Roy Road, i.e. icy patch, snowdrift, can place a car in a dangerous position to oncoming cars proceeding in either direction, and then add in an icy hill and possibly a case where an oncoming car cannot stop to avoid a collision. I can attest I have been in this situation a number of times where I was delayed exiting because of conditions and was fortunate not to have blocked an oncoming car proceeding on Gilmet either way. Add this to possible cars exiting 3 other exits on a curve in the road on a hill could be a cause for a potential accident. There is also garbage collections, recycling trucks, mail delivery, school bus, if to be a need, services to Roy Road and the already existing exits. When these vehicles are present at that section of the road, there is no clear sight line. It is in a gully and on a curve and factor in the 2 hills. Add 3 more exits. Summer provides extra foliage in this area and added hindrance to clear line of sight. Unless you can absolutely guarantee that this section of road from 59 Gilmet continuing south past Roy Road exit and already existing exits can be maintained at 100% clear at all times, no obstructions, no hindrances, no obstacles to the residents, then I am not in agreement with adding the extra 3 exits as proposed. Also take into consideration the development and future construction of these lots, the obstructions, the damage to the road from heavy equipment and the environment. I consider these exits a detriment to my safety and enjoyment of my property. I do not feel it is in my best interest as a taxpayer to be subject to any negative consequences to the severance and future development of this section of Gilmet Road. Thank you for your consideration of my concerns. And that was from Lorna Argu of 15 Roy Road. And then moving on to the next piece of correspondence. Just give me one moment here, please. So that is all the correspondence we received on that file, actually. So I'll move on to my staff report and some of the documents that Mr. Miller submitted since our last planning committee meeting, or committee of adjustment rather. So Mr. Miller touched on the two studies that were requested by the committee, but I'll just go over them as well because I did review them in writing my recommendation report as well. The committee asked that a hydrogeological assessment be done, as well as a natural heritage feature site assessment. So in doing that, the applicant has reduced their request from 4 lots to 3 lots. The primary driver behind that was because there would have been development constraints on the 4th lot based on what's outlined in the natural heritage assessment. So with the removal of that lot, the conclusions in the natural heritage assessment basically indicate that there's no potential for negative impact to any natural heritage features on any of the 3 remaining lots. And the only recommendations from that report from FRI are that standard things that are required through legislation be implemented with regards to basic clearing practices and potential observation of species at risk if they become available, or not available, but become identified through construction. These are things that construction crews in all cases need to adhere to. The Endangered Species Act applies in all cases. But the report identified that there was no reason to believe that there were any species present on these properties, and no reason to further study them. So there was no issues with that report from FRI. And then with regards to the scope draft hydrogeological study, basically all of the wells within the area except for one since 1990, as Mr. Miller mentioned. So based on new standards, they all have sufficient flow rates and water. And everything in the study based on the well records would lead me to believe that we have plenty of available water for 3 additional wells on these lots without negative impact to any surrounding properties. So based on those 2 reports, those kind of further solidify my opinion that these proposals do meet our planning policies. When these were at the committee in 2021, we didn't raise any concerns from staff at that time either with regards to conflicts with our official plan or zoning bylaw, and that's still the position that I'm taking. These lots range in size from about 2.5 to 3 acres, about 60 meters of frontage, so they meet or exceed our minimum requirements. They have suitable building locations and suitable areas for septic installations. So for all of those reasons, I don't have any objection from a staff perspective.
Thanks, Greg. Does anybody have any questions for Greg?
Just real quick, Greg, just I was curious, and I know we've heard it many times before, but the required sight line when you're pulling out of a driveway each direction is how far?
It varies depending on the speed of the road. I don't have that value offhand, but when these sightlines were brought to Antoine prior to our previous meeting, he did indicate that they met the requirements. So I'm sorry I don't have the exact value for you right now, but we did have them reviewed.
No, that's right. I wasn't thinking that Antoine had reviewed them already. That's correct. Yep. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Greg or even Mr. Miller now listening to all that information? I know that for me, it's just thank you for doing the studies. I think that was something that we all really wanted to make sure we saw, because in my experience speaking to some people on the road, water was a concern, and I would hate for that to, you know, further inhibit their water systems. Makes me wonder what's going on in the other sections, because I don't know. Like, makes me wonder what's happening on the other parts of the road if that's the case, and because I don't really know how else to explain that. And I do know that I've heard a lot of complaints about road speed traffic. So I'm hoping that we can make sure that these things don't continue to negatively impact people living on the road. Because it has so far, as far as I've been told anyway. Anybody else before moving forward? We've got to put it on the table here, first and second. Anybody want to move it? Second it? Terry? Councilor Kelly? Bill?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so we're good. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Anything that you need to add to that, Greg, or knows the drill?
Yeah, I think Mr.
Okay.
Miller knows the process, so I'll be in touch with you, Rick, with
Yep.
the decision. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Move on to B 2021-41 to B 2021-44, Stephen Bond, vacant land, Cedar Bay and South Shore Road. Are you there? You connected just, oh, hello, you made it. Hi. Can you hear us okay, Stephen?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Welcome to the meeting. We're here to discuss the vacant land, Cedar Bay and South Shore Road. And the floor is yours to explain a little bit about your application.
Okay, I'd like to introduce myself. It's Steve Bond. Nice to see you all. Basically, I have roughly 100 acres of property there, and I would like to make four separate building lots on the back, and adjoin part of that property with some other waterfront property that I own at the front. So in a nutshell, that's about it. I have had the surveyors go out and check for the proper sightlines for driveways. All the lots meet those conditions. I believe there's no Mattawa Conservation Authority issues. And I think it's good for the community to have those lots there.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Steve?
Either.
Jerry, go ahead.
Thank you. Steve, do any of your lots actually end up on the lake? Are they waterfront lots? I know the hill behind you, and I know the hill adjoining South Shore Road. And I know that the turnaround is involved as well. Is that correct?
Correct. The turnaround is involved in the front lot, which is, it's got 1,000 feet of lake access. That's one I'm actually looking at putting a retirement home on.
Okay.
The 41 acres also goes with the roughly 3.7 acres on the other side of Cedar Bay Road. And there is water access there of, it's not very big, 7 meters.
Okay.
So it's not really a waterfront lot. There's just some access there.
You have access to the water.
Correct.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Any other questions from any committee members? No, okay, see none. Greg, correspondence and staff report.
Sure, thanks. So I'll give the committee a bit of background on this application. So we were working with Steve leading up to his application on the Cedar Bay Road turnaround. So part of the Cedar Bay Road turnaround that we use for plow turnaround and municipal operations is located on Steve's land. So Antoine and I were working with him just to look at how we may be able to kind of, I guess, find a solution that works for everyone, to improve our road network, and basically just find a win-win situation. So we actually already brought a report to council last year that looked at a land swap, and council's approved to go ahead with that for the turnaround section from Steve's land and a portion of road allowance that separates his property at 106 Cedar Bay from the property that's subject to this application. So council's already approved in principle the swap there. And the reason why I mention that is because that does have an impact on this application. So you'll see in your packages the land that's to be retained after the 4 lots are created from this application. The intention is that land will be merged with the road allowance section and then also merged with his property at 106 Cedar Bay Road. So the property that he has along the waterfront currently that's separate from this land will merge with the retained land to leave him with a larger waterfront piece. So in that way, it does relate to these applications. And then beyond that, the land or the lots that he's proposing are significant in size. So there's 2 that are 10 acres. There's one that's about 15 acres, and then there's one that's a little bit over 40 acres. So due to the size of the lots, the correspondence that we received from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority basically indicated that they had no concerns with the ability for a septic system to be installed on any of them, just based on the topography and based on the sheer size. There is a bit of a unique scenario with the one lot that would be labeled as severed 1A and 1B on your plans. It's because Cedar Bay Road intersects those 2 lots. So this would be the one that Steve mentioned that has water access. Let's say it's certainly not a waterfront lot, but it does go down between some of the lots that are existing on Cedar Bay Road. One of the difficulties with the portion on the lake side of Cedar Bay is that there are access easements across a lot of that area for the existing waterfront properties on Cedar Bay Road. So that doesn't really represent a suitable building location. So any homes built in the future would be sited on the rear portion on the south side of Cedar Bay Road. But despite the physical separation because of the road, those 2 form one lot. And that is a scenario that happens sometimes and is an existing scenario there. But yeah, moving on from the lot size, there's really no planning policies that we need to consider beyond that. The lot sizes are far in excess of anything that would prevent septic installations or have maybe environmental concerns. The land is mostly high tableland with limited environmental features. The only thing that we would need to consider is whether we're creating lots where septic systems may be forced to go within 300 meters of the lake because of this portion of Lake Nosbonsine. But again, because of the size and the depth of all of the lots and their relationship to the roads that they front on, they're a suitable location to put septic systems well outside of that distance. So for all of those reasons, there's no objection to these applications from staff perspective.
Thank you. Any questions of Greg? Terry?
I have one. What about the old farmhouse, Steve? Are you going to retain the old farmhouse?
That's on the property that I plan on retaining.
Okay.
I'd really like to restore it. I think it's too far gone, and I'll probably end up having to build a new home there. That's kind of what my scenario is. Yeah, I mean, I still keep that house heated. It has hydro. There's food in the fridge.
Wow. Okay.
So that's
Okay, that is probably close to being a heritage home. I don't know how old it would be, but it was there when I was a boy. Unfortunately, that's a few years ago. But no, but well, it was the old existing farmhouse, eh?
That house actually, if my memory serves me correct, is 1957.
Okay. All right. It's newer than I thought then. Because a lot of the old farmhouses were built back in the 30s and 20s. So yeah, it's recent in comparison.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it just surprised me because the barn came down, what, 15, 20 years ago?
At least 20 years ago, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, no, I was just curious. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? No, I think we're good. Anyone interested in moving and seconding this application? Frank,
I'll move it.
Bill, thank you. All in favor? We're good. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So I'll be in touch with you in the next few days. We do have a copy of the decision and the notice of decision that we'll be preparing. And you'll get a copy of those with the information for next steps and how to fulfill the conditions of your application.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome.
All right, the last one on the agenda, B 2021-45 to B 2021-46. We have Mr. Miller here, Miller and Urso Surveying on behalf of Parent Properties and Danielle and Linda Mercier, 1163 and 1177 Village Road. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. This is the consent application for the rezoning that we spoke of during the earlier meeting. So it is 2 consents to sever for lot addition. One to the commercial property on the corner and one to the residential property on Village Road. This will just square up the properties, makes the commercial property much more usable to be redeveloped, and the owners of that intend to build a new commercial building there in the near future. So that's the reason for this. I think we covered everything else in the previous meeting, so I don't think there's anything else necessary.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Miller? I don't see any. Greg, on to you.
The only thing I'll add is that we did also receive correspondence from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority on these files as well. They submitted comments on the rezoning application as well as the consent to sever applications. The comments were nearly identical in that they have no concerns for the installation of a future septic and no other environmental concerns related to flooding or wetlands or anything along those lines. We received no other correspondence on these applications either, and I have no further comments to add from a staff perspective.
It's exciting. It's gonna be good. And all right, anything else that we need to? No, I think we're on to moving and seconding. Anybody want to move this? Put it on the floor. Al, and then seconded by Frank. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
Now
Everybody
you can go watch curling, Rick.
I'm going to watch curling at in a few minutes. It comes on. And stay tuned. Next week we have a big announcement coming.
What?
Oh my gosh.
What is that?
Al's gonna flip out if you don't tell him.
Yeah, we have it's not public yet, but we're announcing we're having Pinty's Grand Slam Boost National the first week in October 4th to 9th.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes.
Where's the list for the volunteers?
It goes up after the Rogers Sportsnet will make the announcement on a national broadcast on Tuesday, and then we have our committee chairs meeting on Wednesday, and the list will be going up. What committee would you like to be on, Al?
Oh, the same one as always. I'll just run the clock.
All right, I'll
So
make
you're
sure you're there.
Thanks, Erica.
Thanks.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night. night, all.
Good night, Rick. Oh, that's great.
Look, we got it out of him, Al. See? Teamwork. Okay, next, I think we just have any in camera if required. I don't think so, right? Correspondence, we already agreed to make this meeting date change request. Are we okay for doing this for the next meeting? I'm assuming the answer is yes.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
missed that.
Oh,
Is
just
that-
want to make sure it's the correspondence is the same request for changing the meeting from May 18th to May 11th, like the
okay.
same one that Greg had said earlier. I think we're all okay with that still. And I think that's it. Adjournment. Anybody want to move it? Al, Frank, all in favor? Thanks for your patience with me chairing.
Great
And-
job,
You
Erica.
did a great job, yeah.
All good, all
job.
good.
Good job,
everyone.
Erica.
I like the
Thanks,
mood
everyone.
that she does it all the time.
I'll second
No,
that.
no.
Well, what, just a minute here. What about poor John?
Yeah, John's got it.
In
sorry.
his
Sorry.
absence.
John who?
How quickly you're
Oh, God.
forgotten, eh?
Yeah,
Adjournment. End meeting.
take care.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
a
a lot,
good weekend.
everyone. Have a good
Okay.
one.
Bye.
Have a good
Greg,
night.
have you got a minute?
Yeah. Call
Greg.
me,
Huh?
Greg or
Greg.
Frank.
Greg.
Oh, okay.
When have you guys decided what you're doing with the bylaw work that you need to do for the short-term rentals?
We haven't yet. We're still on YouTube for this committee of adjustment meeting though. So do you want me to give you a call to talk about that after the meeting's over? We
Oh,
we
sure,
haven't
yeah.
started a public consultation yet though. And if anyone that's watching is interested, we haven't officially started public consultation for short-term rental yet, but we will be doing that this month, and there will be details on what exactly that public consultation will include, like timelines for submissions that we accept, draft bylaw, when the review of that will take place. So that will all be released when the public consultation is released, but we intend to have a bylaw in place by the spring. So for the start of the busy season of short-term rentals.
Then, okay,
Okay.
and you'll let Marcia know when that's going to happen?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be broadcasting on all of our channels, and we're going to do a bit of a targeted mail out to properties that are more affected, such as all of Lake Nosbinson. So there will be a larger strategy to get the word out about the short-term rental one, because we know it's a very, very popular item.
Popular isn't quite the right adjective to use.
Well, maybe they aren't popular, but it's a hot topic, let's say.
That's a good way to describe it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Thanks, Greg.
Okay, no problem. Have a good